Is this the smartest gimbal ever? Yes, AI tracking independent from your smartphone and finally a way to do that with action cameras as well. Looks like a breakthrough, so let's get started. Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Michael and I really enjoy inspecting cool tech. This here, at least in my point of view, is the coolest gimbal for smartphones and action cameras I've ever used, and it's likely going to be one of the most helpful tools for me when I'm filming outdoors. Can't wait to use it for my next videos. This is the iSteady V2. It's designed to be a smartphone gimbal, but if I may recommend to Hohem, which is the company that designed it, they should include a combo including a plate for action cameras because it works flawlessly with almost any kind of action camera that I've tried. It's priceless for online streamers, no matter if we talk about smartphone or GoPro Hero or DJI Osmo Action and similar. Besides being quite smart, iSteady V2 is a lightweight and portable smartphone gimbal which has almost pocket size, 3-axis stabilization and a lot of added value thanks to the smartphone app. Competition in this segment is quite tough at the moment, with DJI and their OM4 being right now the most famous member. However, this extra AI camera with LEDs around, integrated on the gimbal, could turn into a game changer. Obviously, here we don't count on a solution like with the DJI OM4's detachable bracket. It's quite the opposite. With the iSteady V2 there's no way to detach, because there's now a cable involved, but there's a good reason for this setup to be like that. While I was quite sure that DJI won't be the only one with magnet-based mount, I didn't really see this AI camera coming, and it's pretty cool. Now let me present you the overall feeling that you get from the very first moment, so we're unboxing. Almost a year ago I've shown you the iSteady X, so to me this gimbal feels more like X2 and not a V2, but it doesn't really matter. Just trying to say that a lot of design ideas seem to be inspired by the X model, and could be that now Hohem, again, that's the manufacturing company, they're trying to build two different product lines. The back looks great, inside we can see the gimbal, a small tripod, charging cable and a carrying pouch. To me, maybe the color and the material from last year's X model seem to be nicer, but the V2 also feels good in the hand and is quite lightweight, which is quite important for smartphone gimbals. If you're interested in the tech specs, some of the important ones: folded, the gimbal is only 179 by 79 by 39 mm. It has inside a 2800 mAh battery providing up to 9 hours operation time per charge. 3 motors, because we talk about a 3-dimensional stabilization. Each of these dimensions is limited to 320 degrees compensations, with some remarks I'm going to point to a bit later. Compatible with devices that are no heavier than 280 grams, no thicker than 11 mm and no wider than 90 mm. There's a small AI camera on top, together with the LEDs around. There's a 1/4-inch mount thread on the bottom, a lot of buttons, control wheel, Bluetooth support for the smartphone app, and that's pretty much it. Time for a vlogging test. Right now I have the iSteady V2 and recording with the Galaxy S21 Ultra, its front camera, and we wanted to try out how the microphone feels. Not that you don't know how the microphone works on the S21 Ultra. The thing is that with some older gimbals, it was very common that there's modern noise due to the vibrations, and I can feel some minor vibrations with the V2, therefore I wanted to figure out whether anything is going to be notable in the recording, so you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. There are a lot of buzzing around. Spring. Now the great part about this gimbal, let's expand the tripod, is that it can automatically track you, no matter whether you record with the native camera app on your smartphone or you have activated the Hohem Pro camera app. I'm right now recording with the Samsung native app, and if I make that and I see the green LED, it means that it's tracking me, so I can easily put this into the ground and I can go away and it just follows me. You know, I can do whatever I need. I can talk to you. I can just move around. Of course, it's going to lose me. There is a 320-degree limit. So when I turn like that, at some point it's gonna lose me. But it's really brilliant, especially with good lighting, and if you need dynamic environment where you don't have anyone else to film you, it's a perfect combination. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's pretty cool. Essentially, the iSteady V2 represents a nice, small, good-looking foldable gimbal with AI camera. Based on the specs, it seems to be quite promising, but we know that for gimbals, no matter what kind of gimbal we're talking about, it has to be tested. I'm really impressed by the gesture controls, and they actually worked very well indoors. It's true that I still haven't used the gimbal for too long time, but so far it's been doing great almost every time I needed it to, with some minor exceptions. So let me quickly show you how to do all of that. First step is to download the smartphone app. You make sure that you're registered and you're good to go. Place your smartphone and make sure it's properly leveled. Really important is to find the right balance, otherwise vibrations or other issues may occur. A side note, you really have to be careful with the size of your smartphone because this S21 Ultra barely fits into this position. Power on the gimbal using the power button, make sure to activate it. Now, through the app, you can take advantage of almost all the features. You can switch to a different stabilization modes. There are different modes of the gimbal you can operate with, like pan follow, pan and tilt follow, all lock, all follow. These are the usual gimbal modes and they're present here. You can also choose the compensation speed. If you need very slow, smooth reactions, you can keep the follow speed at slow mode, or if you want to shoot something that moves a bit quicker, like sports, you can fine-tune it to be much faster. The real deal, however, is pressing this button, which activates the AI camera. It can be operated hands-free, you don't even need your smartphone, which is a great advantage, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, when you see this LED on, it means that the camera is expecting your commands. If you need to be followed, just make this OK sign, the LED turns green and the gimbal will follow your face. Show a palm and it's going to stop. Now, the awesome part, thumbs up, roll, and you go to landscape. Thumbs right and you go to the vertical or selfie modes. Just imagine how much TikTok friendly or YouTube Shorts friendly this gimbal actually is. It's amazing how easily you can switch between different modes without even touching the gimbal. I know that you can do part of that with the DJI gimbals as well, but what you can't do with most gimbals is to attach an action camera and actually making it following you. Because most gimbals rely on the smartphone to detect and follow you, while here the AI camera is detecting you, and even if you mount a GoPro, it's going to follow you. Imagine how brilliant this solution could be for online meetings or making better presentations, or even dancing classes. Well, I haven't tested the latter one. This gimbal reminds me a lot about the OBSBot Tiny PC camera that I've reviewed a few months ago, but now you can put any camera that you need and like. Obviously, there's only zoom gesture control missing, which I hope is going to get implemented at some point, at least for smartphones. Unfortunately, the camera has difficulties recognizing these gestures when I'm under direct sunlight. I still haven't figured out the pattern, and looks like mostly the gestures with thumbs are affected. As for the stabilization, the gimbal worked really well, easy to operate, very lightweight to carry, motors seem to be good, and I had no vibrations whatsoever. If you do experience such, try to calibrate or balance your phone in a better way. Rolling and panning seem to be quite effective, but tilting, in my opinion, is very, very limited, and that's mostly a construction thing, not a deal breaker, but good to keep in mind. You could further enhance the footage by using any of the templates provided in the smartphone app. Besides being the best way to control the gimbal, you also can use it for video editing. It's not as advanced as DJI Mimo, but seems to be a good alternative. I like the fact it's quite stable. The app exists since last year's iSteady X model release, and I'm glad to see the improvements already done. The real-life usage only strengthened my opinion that iSteady V2 is actually a great choice for smartphone gimbal. Clearly, the AI tracking, especially the possibility to use it with action cameras as well, is simply a great achievement. Battery life is good. With mixed usage, I managed to squeeze a little more than 4 hours in the first run. Up to 9 are possible if you don't have too heavy phone and if you don't use the AI functions. With AI on, we can count on less than 4 hours, and if you use the LEDs on top of that, that's probably going to last 1.5 hours up to 2 hours. Of course, I had to test this in the dark. So here we go, the iSteady V2. And let's check if the gesture controls are gonna work. No, not quite. The green flashes for a moment. Okay, now it's green. Nah, kinda lost me. So obviously gesture controls are not quite reliable when it's close to complete darkness. Did I find any drawbacks? Well, yes, of course. I didn't quite like the folding mechanism. They could have developed a nicer way to lock it. Doesn't support 360-degree panning. It's not waterproof or splash-proof, the tilting is limited, gestures may not be recognized occasionally under direct sunlight, and battery is not replaceable like most other smartphone gimbals anyways, but none of that can really undermine the awesomeness of this AI camera integration. I'm repeating this again, but I do think that's a game changer, which only time can show, of course, whether it's a correct expectation or not. One thing for sure, you can share your opinion about this gimbal in the comments below the video. Do you think DJI finally has some work to do in order to catch up? Or you don't see yourself using this kind of technology? I'll be glad to hear from you, and would love to see you becoming a subscriber to the channel if you haven't done it yet. Thank you so much for watching this video, for your kind support, for all the smiles, and I hope this all was useful, and let's catch up in the next episode. Bye!